average new car costing over $49,000, I think it's safe to say that a lot of people can't actually afford that anymore. So let's actually talk about some cheaper vehicles that you can get for under $5,000. But my criteria for these is that they have to be A, cheap to buy, under $5,000, B, readily available, which they all are. You can easily find all these on Facebook Marketplace or Auto Tempest. C, they have to have readily available parts, and D, they have to be reliable and useful for daily A to B transport. Now, this is not going to be the best option for an enthusiast, but if you're just looking for a basic runabout, go look at these vehicles. Let's start off with the first one, the 2006 through 2011 Honda Civic. This is known as the 8th gen Honda Civic, and I honestly think it is probably the best generation of Honda Civic to ever exist, as it is super fun to drive, good on feel, looks pretty good, and has decent interior volume as far as back seat space and trunk space goes. They offered it as a 2-door coupe or a 4-door sedan, and honestly, the 4-door sedan is the way to go, obviously, because you have more space. It does offer a 1.8 liter 4-cylinder engine, the R18A1. That is going to be the most common engine, and the one I think that is the ideal one to get. Now, obviously, you do have the Civic Si, but that's going to be a little bit more expensive, and you do also have the Civic Hybrid, but I would honestly pass on those because they typically have higher miles just because they are A, more fuel efficient, so they're going to be used for stuff like Uber drivers or stuff like that, and B, they cost more to buy initially, so the average price on one of those is going to be higher than on a typical LX or EX model. So if you're looking for an 8th gen Honda Civic, stick with the EX or the LX trim and get the 1.8 liter engine. You can get them with a 5-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual, and if you were to ask me, I would look for one with the 5-speed manual because the Honda automatic transmissions are not the best, but they're also not the worst, and they're plenty reliable for this light duty application, so keep that in mind. Up next, on the number 2 position, we have the 2002 through 2006 Toyota Camry. Now, this is a staple of the midsize sedan segment in the early 2000s, and honestly, it's probably the best one to go for. These Camrys come with a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine, or you can get an optional 3 liter or a 3.3 liter V6, depending on the trim level. I would probably go for the 4-cylinder just because A, it's easier to find, B, it's cheaper, and C, it's going to get better fuel economy. These ones can have a 5-speed manual, although fairly rarely, a 4-speed auto, or a 5-speed auto, although the 5-speed was introduced in 2005. These are probably going to be the best sort of cars for appliance buyers. And let me clarify what that means. An appliance buyer is basically a person who buys a car as an appliance. They don't enjoy driving. They just need something that works, gets them from point A to point B, and the Camry does exactly that. The only thing you need to worry about on 2.4 liter Camrys is oil consumption. Now, it's not as problematic on the 2007 or the next generation after this Toyota Camry, but keep in mind that the 2.4 liter engines, especially on the later model years, are a little prone to burning oil, but as long as you just keep an eye on your oil levels, it'll be perfectly fine. In the 3rd place position, we have the 2007 through 2013 Honda Fit. Now, this is an especially good choice because it's super fun to drive, super reliable, and is going to sip fuel. These come with a 1.5 liter engine. They're only offered as a 5-door hatch in the United States. You can get a 5-speed manual or a 5-speed automatic, and in my opinion, get the manual. And the Fit is actually fairly practical considering its small size, as you do have completely fold flat seating that Honda called Magic Seats or something like that. This is going to be an exceptional option if you want to do a little bit more of spirited driving. Let's say you get a manual transmission with the 1.5 liter engine, which is the only one they offered. These are actually exceptional cars for autocrossing. So if you want something a little bit more fun to drive, the Honda Fit is a good place to look. The only thing you have to worry about with the Honda Fit is that the paint can be a little bit on the thin side. So make sure you're getting one with a good paint color. Usually the white ones typically have more problems than the other colors, in my opinion. As an alternative to the Honda Fit, you have the 2007 through 2012 Toyota Yaris, one of the most durable cars ever made. I know if you guys have seen on Instagram that guy does the reverse triple dipper in the Honda Yaris. Not the Honda Yaris, what the hell am I saying? The Toyota Yaris. This one is also offered with a 1.5 liter engine. It has a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic. The Yaris doesn't have the same cool interior configuration as the Fit, but it does offer a 3-door hatch if you're interested in a little bit smaller shape, or it is offered in a 4-door sedan if you're looking for that. The engine offered in the Yaris, the 1NZ-FE, is the same motor that they put in the Prius of the same generation, simply without the hybrid system, of course. These can easily go for over 300,000 miles with zero problems, and they are uber reliable and cheap transportation. You can get these for well under $5,000 $5,000, I just figured I might as well mention this as an alternative to the Fit, as it is the second best option in that subcompact class. Moving on, in the 4th place position, we have the commuter hybrid. We have the 2nd gen Toyota Prius. This would be from 2004 to 2009. These are equipped with a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, the same one that you found in the Yaris that I just mentioned, although it does have an e-CVT, but there's no actual CVT componentry inside a Prius. It is simply a electronic power split device, let's call it that. These can get well over 55 miles a gallon, so if you're looking for fuel economy, look at the 2nd gen Prius, because they can go well over 400,000 miles with basic maintenance. They're pretty comfortable and are super efficient, and they actually have decent technology for the age. Other advantages of the Prius include the fact that it is a hatchback. This is offered as a 5-door liftback, I would call it. It's not really a hatchback, but you do have a ton of cargo room behind the rear seats in the Prius. So if you're looking for a lot of cargo room, look at the 2nd gen Prius. The only thing that is a little bit problematic with the Prius is, of course, the hybrid battery can go bad at a certain point, but I wouldn't honestly be worried about that if you're getting a car with relatively low miles. I would stick to one from in between the 120 and 180,000 mile window for the $5,000 price point, and make sure you get one in good shape. That goes for all of these, of course. In the 5th place slot, we have a little bit more of a luxury option. We have the 2002 through 2006 Acura TL. Now, Acura is Honda's sub-brand in the United States, so if you're not familiar with it or you're from Europe, well, first off, why are you watching this video? Because this doesn't really apply. And second off, Acura makes a bunch of great cars. The Acura TL is based on the Honda Accord. It has a 3.2 liter or the J32A3 V6. It's offered with a 5-speed automatic or a rare 6-speed manual if you're looking to get a sportier option. It does have leather seats and stuff like that, so this makes it a little bit better of a luxury choice if you're looking to have something a little bit more premium at the $5,000 price point. But honestly, if you were to ask me, I would honestly go with the Accord. It's probably simply going to be a better, more reliable, and easier to find option. But if you're looking for that luxury feel, the Acura TL is a great place to look. In the 6th place position, we have a little bit of a sleeper pick, I might say. The 1997 through 2005 Buick LeSabre. Now, these come with the legendary 3800 GM V6. These are going to be the most bulletproof GM cars I believe you can buy, period. These things go forever. The 3800 is a fantastic engine. These come with a 4-speed automatic, so it's the 4T65E. You do have, again, the 3800 V6, and it is a fairly grandpa-esque car, but if you can get past that, these are great vehicles, and they will last forever. These are a little bit cheap on the interior componentry, like the dashes are a little bit cheap, but for $5,000, the Buick LeSabre or the Buick Park Avenue is its other sibling are a great place to look. You'll save a ton on maintenance just because these things are cheap to buy and cheap to drive, and they get fairly decent fuel economy for having a fairly large engine. In the 7th place position, we have the 2002 to 2006 Honda CR-V, also known as the Gen 2 CR-V. These are exclusively available with the 2.4 liter K24A1 motor. These are bulletproof. If you know what a K-swap is, you know how legendary the K24 motor is. These can make a ton of power boosted, so if you're interested in doing a little turbo on this Honda CR-V, that is an option, but as a base engine, they are perfectly reliable and will be a great suit for a small crossover like the CR-V. These ones can be found in a 5-speed manual, a 4-speed automatic, or a 5-speed automatic, although the 5-speed is available on the later years, so that'd be 2005 and 2006. The 2nd gen CR-V is a great platform, and it is a little bit larger than the 1st gen CR-V, which is a little bit on the small side for modern standards. So if you're looking for something with a little bit more interior space for passengers, take a look at the 2nd gen CR-V. As an alternative to the CR-V, you have the 2nd gen Ford Escape. That's from 2005 to 2012, and these are also a really good buy. The only downside to them is that they are a little bit more prone to rust, so if you live in a northern state, maybe pay a little attention to what you're buying. The Ford Escape is offered with the 2.5 liter Duratec, otherwise known as the same motor that comes in the Ford Ranger, or the 3 liter Duratec V6, and these are both brilliant engines. They are uber reliable, not very fuel efficient and not very powerful, but they get the job done and they're reliable. You do have the option of a 5-speed manual, only on the 4-cylinder though, a 4-speed automatic, or a 6-speed automatic, but that was introduced in 2009. You do have obviously all-wheel drive available on the Ford Escape, and that also goes for the CR-V as well. So if you need all-wheel drive and you live somewhere where it snows, look at the CR-V and the Ford Escape. In the 8th place position, we have the 1999 through 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee, otherwise known as the WJ. Now, this is going to be a little bit more of an off-roady / larger SUV type vehicle. If you're looking for that in the $5,000 price point, this is probably the best place to look, as the Toyota 4Runner is not really super available at this price point. It does have the 4-liter inline-6, which is a legendary engine. You also do have the option of the 4.7 V8 Magnum / Hemi. I wouldn't really go for that though, because it does run a little hot and does drop valve seats inside the engine, so a little bit problematic there. I would avoid the 4.7. I would go with the 4-liter. These are easy to find. The only problem with them is that, you know, they're going to be a little bit less comfortable and a little less fuel efficient than the other vehicles on this list. So I would only go for this if you actually need the ground clearance or the 4-wheel drive. But if you do need those things, this is an excellent option. Now, in the 9th place position, let's mention a truck on this list. The 1991 through 2011 Ford Ranger. Now, that might seem like a massive span, but they all basically have the same engine options. They all have either a 2.3-liter 4-cylinder, the 3-liter Vulcan V6, or the 4-liter Cologne V6. They're basically all the same truck. They just have a little bit different styling depending on which generation you go for. In my opinion, I would probably go for the latest generation. That would be from about 2004 to 2011. I like that facelift the best, although those are going to be the most expensive. So if you're looking to save a little bit more money, I'd go for a 1997. That body style I think works the best for the Ranger. You do have the option of a 5-speed manual or a 5-speed automatic depending on the year. The earlier trucks I believe have a 4-speed, and these are super common. You can find them anywhere, and they will do absolutely anything, because Ford Ranger. I'm gonna have to bleep that. What to look out for on these vehicles? Well, make sure you check the rear suspension, because the leaf springs are a little bit prone to rusting, and make sure that you obviously get one that's in decent shape, because you don't want a rust bucket. The final vehicle on this list is, I think, a great one to look at. The 2000 to 2004 Chevy Silverado, otherwise known as the GMT 800 platform, and also known as the Flat Eye Silverado. Not the Cat Eye, that's later, but the Flat Eye. These ones are available with the 4.3-liter Vortec, the 4.8-liter Vortec, and the 5.3-liter Vortec, and the latter two of those are V8s. The 4.3 is a V6. The better one to go for, I would honestly think, is going to be the 4.8, because that's going to be the best balance of fuel economy, cost, and performance. The 4.3 is a little too slow, and the 5.3 is a little bit too thirsty when it comes to fuel economy. The only problem with this for our budget here is that $5,000 is going to get you probably a 2-wheel drive with the 4.8 liter, or you can probably get a V6 in 4-wheel drive for that money, but honestly, I would stick to the V8. In these trucks, you can get the 5-speed manual, but only on the V6 and the smaller V8, and they are honestly quite rare, so I wouldn't really count on that. You do also have a 4-speed automatic, although it is the 4L60, so it's a little bit on the weak side if you're doing a lot of towing, but it'll be perfectly fine for daily driving. And the parts for those transmissions are absolutely everywhere, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. Now, the reason why I mentioned the Chevy Silverado is because these smaller trucks like the Ford Ranger and the Toyota Tacoma are actually on a very similar price bracket, hence why they're in the same video. If you're looking for something with a little bit more payload capacity, look at the Flat Eye / 2000 to 2004 Chevy Silverado or the GMT 800 series. You can go with the Cat Eye too if you can find one for a good price. Those are honestly a little bit nicer, but they're honestly harder to find in my opinion. Now, a quick PSA before you guys go. Make sure when you're buying a fairly cheap / $5,000 used car that you leave a little bit of reserve left in your budget for repairs. Let's say it needs a new battery, new tires, oil changes, stuff like that. Basic maintenance stuff. A lot of these $5,000 used vehicles are going to need that, and the previous owner hasn't done it, so make sure that you save a little bit for maintenance right after you get the vehicle. In addition to that, you also need to make sure that you buy a clean example that is not rusty, one that runs on all cylinders and that is not misfiring, because that is a unfortunately common problem with some of the vehicles in the cheaper price bracket, not specifically these, but you know, just in general. Make sure you get one that has good suspension components, one that hasn't been stolen or has a lien on it, stuff like that. You got to make sure that you cover all your bases. But overall, these 10 or actually 12 different vehicles that I've listed off for you are going to be an excellent choice at the $5,000 price tag. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Comment, like, and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode of this car buying / recommendation series, and I'll see you guys in the next video.